Good morning, my name is Jacob Folger. I'm an artist sculptor, and today we're going to make a fairy house. And I'm starting off here with some polymer clay. This is Sculpey 3 brand. It is my brand of choice. You may like to use something else, that would be fine. And we're squeezing it into the shape of a ball. After you do want to condition it, of course, and knead it before starting. And I did that before turning on the camera. And then when I get the basic shape of a ball, then I'll start to roll it so that it becomes nice and smooth. So just rolling it between the palms of my hands. Now I want two sides to be flat, so I'm going to sort of press it into the table like this by holding on to it and just twisting it and pressing down. So it makes one side flat. And then we're going to do that on another side. We're trying to achieve a look like that. So this side will be the bottom, and this will be the side where we'll put the door and the window. Now I do consider this something for beginners, but you know, it's going to be maybe a little rough for the first time out for you. Just be patient with yourself, take your time, take breaks if you have to. Now turn it to the side and make sure that this is straight up and down here. I'm going to try to get this the bottom flatter and more of a slope along the sides. It's not really sloping at this point. And also sloping in the back. You see how I'm forming it, using the table as the flat edge that I need. That's pretty good there. Now what we're going to do is set that back out of the way, take a little bit more clay here, roll it into a ball. This gets it nice and smooth. It's a nice starting point, like that. And then I'll start rolling it into a noodle. Set my tools off to the side here, and then I'll lay it on the table and I'll roll it against the table because that's going to keep it more uniform. If you apply too much pressure to the noodle as you're rolling it, it will become flat and it won't roll very easily, so just don't apply too much pressure. Just trying to get it to the right thickness for me. Okay, a little bit more. If it's really long, it's sometimes kind of hard to roll, so just keep that in mind. You can cut it to make it shorter if you're having trouble with it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is cut off a little piece about maybe that long, and this will be for the door frame. And just positioning it on the front of the house. And then once I get it to the position I want, I'll press it in. But not too hard. I'm just trying to seat it onto the front of the house. I'll take my knife and cut off the excess. Like that. Now I'm going to roll this out and make it a little skinnier for the window. Roll that where you can see it, I'm sorry. Just make it a little bit skinnier. Now I'm going to cut it off. And put it on the house, and then form it to be round. Now what you can do is you can take like a tool like this here, and you can press out from the inside to shape it the way you like. And you can join the two ends just by blending them together. I'm just shaping it the way I like. Takes a little bit of work, but it'll work out and be fine. Now what we can do is take another noodle, just roll it out, and put it down the center like that. And when you got it where you want it, you can cut it off on the inside. Like that. And then you can take your sculpting tool again and blend it in. And then you can take, whoops, the door frame came loose a little bit. You can blend the bottom of the door frame in to hold it better, like that. Then you can take a small piece of clay, or just a ball, and put it in here. And then one for the other side as well. And then you can take your sculpting tool and blend that in. It just takes a little bit of time to do, but you know, just be patient with yourself again. Patient with the clay and the tools. I'll take this end of the tool and square it up a little bit. You can take your thumb like this and just pat it, and that will take out some of the roughness. You also can take a paintbrush like this, get a little bit of water on it. I have some water off to the side. Squeeze off the excess. And then just brush it. Just damp brush it, and that will take a lot of the roughness out. That helps a lot. Next, I'm going to sculpt in the door, and what I'll do is I'll take kind of a sharper sculpting tool, and I'm just going to define the planks of the door, just by carving lines in. If you mess up, you can just smooth over one line and sort of erase it. So it looks like that. And then you can take a very small piece of clay, make a ball, and just drop it on the door. If you hold it like this, and then you drop it on the door, you can roll it into place. It's easier than holding it like this, and then just press it in. So that's what we got so far. Now we're going to make a tree. So I'm going to take a piece of clay. I don't need much really, and start shaping it into a ball. And then once you've got a rough ball, you can roll it into a ball. And again, this is the starting point. This gets the clay nice and smooth, like that. And then I'll roll it into kind of a cone shape by holding my hands kind of at an angle like that and applying light pressure. And then once I get it to that point, I'll take my thumb and forefinger like this and squeeze with my forefinger going up the tree so it doesn't deform it. So it's shaped like that. On the top, I'm just going to press it flat because I'm going to put a moss top on it, and that will be adequate. It'll look pretty nice. Now what I'm going to do is just take a pair of regular household scissors and get the roots started on it. So I'll make a snip there like that, and yes, I live in the city, if you're wondering. And it can get a little noisy from time to time. So then I'll tease out the roots like I'm doing here and start forming them to be come to points. And then I'm just going to take a sculpting tool here, and I'm just going to smooth this out a little bit on the inside. So it looks like that. And I'm also going to use a little bit of Sculpey Bacon Bond. I'm just going to squeeze it till it starts coming out. There we go. I'll just put a little bead kind of like I'm doing here, and I'll bring the house forward. Let's see how we're going to position it on there. I think I'm going to put it in the center. And just press it down onto the house. Sculpey Bacon Bond is a baking adhesive, so when it gets hot, it will get really hard and sticky and work as a good bonding agent. Now, to try to give the tree some artistic form, I'm going to bring it this way a little bit like that. And then I'll bring it back up here a little bit higher up. So it looks almost like it's moving in a way. Okay, so now I'm going to I want to work on the tree a little bit here. I'm going to put a knot hole in the tree. I'm just taking this tool and pressing in with it, making a little hole, kind of an oblong shaped hole. It's just kind of one of the things I like to do when I make a tree. I think it looks pretty neat too. And then I'm going to take the sharper end of the sculpting tool and draw in lines. And you can draw in different depths of the lines, make them different depths, and it will make the tree look more natural, more realistic. And try not to rush on this step. A lot of people just think they have to scratch in the markings, and there is actually kind of a flowing look that you want. Let's see if we have a piece of paper here. If you put the clay, the house on top of a piece of paper like that, it'll be easier to move it. It won't stick to the table quite so much. So some of the lines are deeper. You see this line here is deeper, that line deeper, and some are more shallow. You can also pick up the house and work it this way. And then I'm just going to bring it in closer to the hole around the edge here. Now, if you notice, I don't know if you can see it, but there's little hairs that come off the tool. They're clay hairs, and you can just pat them down. Now, one thing I want to do that I didn't before do is I want to put a jamb or a threshold at the bottom of the door. So I'm going to take a knife and cut a piece to fit in there. And then I can blend it at the bottom so it bonds well with the house. it would also be nice to add a little bit of texture. But before I do that, I'm going to take a sculpting tool like this and just put a seam where that threshold joins the door frame. Then I can take this tool here and applying gentle pressure, I can put markings in the door to give it more of a rustic look, or the door frame I should say. And the threshold. And then also the window. There we go. Now we're going to take another tool. This is a little ball tool. It has two different sizes. It has a smaller and a larger. We can try the different sizes. I think that probably the bigger one would be better, but we'll see. And I'm just going to make little circle shapes on the, kind of just going like this, but real tight. And this is going to be for the moss texture of the house. The house is basically going to be a moss-like house, and and I want to bring it up real tight to the tree, at the base of the tree, real tight to the door. And again, this is the ball, just so you can get an idea of the size you need. These types of tools are readily available at the craft stores and probably art stores. And just go around the whole mound that makes up the house. Also, when you're doing this, you're going to get those little hairs like we got on the tree. So what I do is I do a little bit like this, and then I just pat them with my thumb. And the other thing I do is I go back and hit it again as I go, just to make sure I got it good. And sure, it's fine to hold it in your hand, but the best thing to do is when you're holding any polymer clay sculpture, you want to cradle it like I'm cradling it in my hand here, as opposed to gripping it with your fingers, because that can deform it. Okay, so once you've got all your moss and moss texture carved in, should look something like that. We'll go ahead and start the finish. I'm going to do the tree first, and let's see, I'll just pick it up and cradle it in my hand like that. Now I have the bronze in a lid, and that's really the best way to handle the powders. And oh, by the way, this is Pearl X Pigments. Pearl X Pigments, and they're powders, and they're very pretty. I'll get a little bit of my finger like that, swirl it with my thumb, and then apply it to the tree. And of course you do put this on before you bake it. And I'm just highlighting it. That's all I'm doing, is highlighting it. So I'm leaving some of the black showing. And every time I dip it, my finger in it, I swirl it with my thumb. So it should look like that. And you can wipe your hands off and then move on to the next color, and then wash your hands at the end with soap and water. I'm going to go ahead and put bronze on the door frame in the window. Okay, I'm going to put Reflex Violet on the door. I've got a little bit in the cap here. And just get a little bit on my brush, dab off the excess, and apply it. It's a really pretty color. You'll also hear me refer to it as purple from time to time. After wiping off my brush, I'm going to get a little silver on my brush and put that on the doorknob. And then we'll start the green in just a minute. Now I'm going to use a brush to get some green and put it on the moss texture. Okay, I'm going to use some 20 gauge galvanized steel wire. I've cut it into 3 lengths, all about the length of my finger. And I'm going to bend them in half and use a pair of pliers to squeeze them tight like that. And that is if I decide to glue the moss on, it will stick better to the wire if it's doubled over like that. And it's 20 gauge wire. So I double them over and give them a good squeeze. Like that. And then what I do is I stick it in the top of the tree. Bring that a little closer to you. And I usually use three wires like that. And this will just hold on to the wire, onto the moss. Kind of keep them spread out, so kind of like that, looking down at them. At this point, you'll bake your fairy house and tree. And if you look in the video description down below the video, there is baking instructions for the Sculpey 3 brand polymer clay. Once your tree is baked, you can put your moss on. This moss that I'm using here is reindeer moss. It's actually a lichen, but it's very soft and supple. And when you get it in your you can get it by the bag or box. And when you get it, you can usually find big enough chunks in there to make the top of a tree like this. You also can glue pieces of it together to make a top, and then all you do is just put it on top of the tree and press it onto the wires that we put in the top. Let me move this back so you can see it. And that's what it looks like. It's really a fun little project. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel. I do many videos along these lines. Please also give the video a thumbs up. Let me know that you liked it. And leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought of the video. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Be creative. Have fun in your life. Bye-bye.